I can't hit the notes.
Well, what's this genre? Who is this for?
When I could have been your star. This was pop. This was 1980s pop redone. His
This
first.
doesn't sound 80s though. It sounds like a
No, it's like a.
much earlier. It's like a ballad. It's a classic ballad.
He says this one's going to be easy. Welcome to the Carmudgeon Show. I am Carmudgeon Jason. This is Carmudgeon Derek. We're going to fight
We're
about
on a
things.
first name basis now.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. My name is Jason Cammisa.
My name is Derek Tam-Scott.
Oh, you got the hyphen in there. He's learning. Yeah, so on this show, we basically talk about things that we don't like, which includes cars,
Oh, sorry.
sarcasm, people, and this episode, the 911. Because I have a theory about the Porsche 911, the classic air-cooled 911. I think that anyone who has a classic 911 and brings it to like Monterey Car Week or any car show or Cars and Coffee is an asshole. Or more specifically, not just an asshole, suffers from a tremendous lack of originality.
Yes, I was going to.
You're not allowed to agree with me yet because he has a 911 and has owned 911 since I met him 114 years ago, back when I was in my 80s. How can you agree with that?
A 911 is a car that you buy for yourself. You buy it to drive it, and like for me, I'm speaking from my own perspective.
Okay.
Like it's a very rewarding driver's car, but if you show up anywhere and everyone's like, "Can I do?" I just did.
They're like.
No, nobody cares because everybody has 911s. They all look the same. Like, why is one $1 million and the other one is $60,000 and they all look the same? I love Porsches. I've always been a Porsche person. I've been like doing Porsches my whole life. My parents met because of a 911 that my dad was selling. But I don't. I know.
Yeah, this is the problem.
But I don't. They don't excite me except for when I'm driving them.
Yeah, this is the problem. You say they don't excite you, and every time we're on a rally, you're like, "Oh, this Alfa Romeo is amazing, but I wish I was in my Porsche." Oh, this Jaguar is amazing. I wish I was in my Porsche. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, you're always, I wish I was in my fucking Porsche, which shows either an incredible lack of originality or that maybe the 911 is really good.
Yes. I mean, I wish I was in my 911 when I'm driving, but when I'm not driving, I'm really glad I'm not in my 911. And that's always the tension that I feel. There's a lot of people who are like hardcore 911 people, which for me, I don't know. There's lots of permutations. There's things about it to recommend it. I mean, if you want something, it's a very good one-car solution if you don't have a family or any friends.
Wait. He just snuck in a no friends there. Okay. But it does seat four. It's a four-seater.
It technically seats 4 people. One of my friends has covered a great deal of distance with 3 people in a 911 at great speed. Like, you can do these things if your friends are tolerant, but.
Or midgets.
Or midgets. I mean, or yeah. If you're
Dwarfs. Hold
that,
on, we're not allowed to say midgets anymore. Little people.
You are far more up to date on this stuff than I am.
How to offend people? Yeah.
But you can see out of it, like it's easy to live with. It costs a reasonable amount of money to maintain and look after compared to some other stuff. Like especially the old ones, like they're durable when you take care of them in a way that like an Alfa Romeo is not or a Ferrari is not. Sure. So depending on what you're comparing it against, it's a very sensible thing to buy. But some people are passionate about them. But for me, that's not what it is. It's not a car that inspires my passion.
This is my problem with it. So people are buying a classic car for the pleasure of owning a classic car, which means, if I can sing, joy and pain, sunshine and rain. I mean, the whole. Do you know that song?
Nope.
I'm too young. Anyway, people are buying a classic car not for transportation purposes, right? They're in the world according to me, anyway. If you're buying a classic car, you're doing it so that you can have an experience. And I'm wondering, I'm not going to answer this question yet, does the 911's reliability and the fact that it's so good at just being a car remove from the experience and make you want to say, why didn't you buy something that's actually fun? If you're not going to drive it every day, it doesn't matter that it's a good car and that it's reliable. Maybe roadside breakdowns are the stuff that stories are made of and that make for like the best experiences in your life. Maybe you'll be broken down on the side of the road and getting eaten by a bear. That's a good fucking story. Or maybe you'll be broken down on the side of the road and meet your partner for life.
Counterpoint.
Romantico.
If you are only getting out to use your special car like once a week or once a month and you want it to perform, and you want to have that experience. And it's not that it's a boring car to drive, quite the opposite. It's actually a very exciting car to drive, like sometimes in all the wrong ways when you're going ass first into the scenery. Like some people get off on that. I mean,
ass first is always how I get off. Wait, I got him. But I'm gonna call bullshit here for a second. DEFCON 5. Because I don't think 911s are that exciting to drive. And mostly I'm just saying this to fuck with them because they're really good.
Yeah, of course they are. I mean, so what you get is a lot of talkativeness from the front end, especially. I'm talking about air-cooled 911s. I'm talking about the new ones, which are outrageously good to the point maybe of being boring in some cases. Obviously, some
setting a
exceptions.
timer so I can shut you up, by the way, because I forgot to do that to begin with. Set
Great,
a timer
I'll need
for
like
30
48
beep, beep, beep,
minutes.
beep. Done. Sorry.
But old 911s are actually like really entertaining to drive. And like I said before, it's a car that you buy for yourself, that you get like the excitement and that it's all about your personal experience for me, and not about showing up anywhere and leaning against it or like trying to be the guy who has the most whatever 911 because, well, Porsche guys care, but nobody else does. So it becomes a thing that you need to do for yourself. And I think that it takes, to some extent, a certain degree of like self-confidence to do that, where you have to say, I'm going to do this for myself, independent of what other people think. If you're driving a car...
No. See, I'm going to stop you right there. I agree with almost everything you said, which I hate to admit. But the reality is, I think it takes a lack of confidence to buy a 911. It's the easiest choice. It's the simple... I'm not going to go out on a limb. I'm not going to risk anything. I'm going to make the obvious choice. And someone with a lot of self-confidence might say, you know what? The 911 no one's going to judge me poorly for driving a 911. I mean, people outside the car world think they're pricks, right? Because it's the old joke, the difference between a 911 and a porcupine.
Pricks on the inside.
Exactly, on the 911. So you're the prick. So, but I think people are going to judge you much more harshly, or just maybe judge you more if you drove a Lamborghini Urama.
Who?
People.
Like the public?
I mean, is anyone going to notice
nobody
you're
knows
another
what
dickhead in
nobody
an
knows
old
what a
911?
Urama is. If you had said Huracan or Aventador, I would have agreed.
But I mean, I guess my question is, if you didn't have confidence and you were nervous and tepid about your first classic car purchase, or like, I don't want to be judged, and I don't want the car to break, and I don't want to offend anyone, and I don't really want to be noticed.
And I want it to have resale value so that when I sell it, there'll be people lined up.
But I'm saying that's when you buy the 911. You'd be like, this is the easy choice, and I'm going to dip my toes into the water, and it's reliable, and it's good to drive, and it doesn't do anything wrong, and it's not going to send the wrong image, and all this other shit. You buy the 911. If you're like, sorry for the image, let's go fucking have some fun, you're never going to buy a 911.
No, you're going to buy a 12-cylinder Daimler.
Thank you. You were on cocaine when you bought that car?
No, I think I was not on the internet when I bought that car. So I didn't have a chance to read about it.
I just kind of think like it's the least exciting choice.
I agree.
I'm playing devil's advocate on part of this because the reality is, I understand why everyone shows up to car events in a 911, right? They're going to start, they'll run, they'll get decent fuel economy, they'll be they'll be 80% as fun as the most fun cars, without any of the heartbreak on the other side with bad resale values and breakdowns.
I would call it above 80%, but I get your point.
It depends on which 911. Early 911s?
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
See, I think they're magic because they're so terrible. Like, they're so flawed. You can't, like a 65, you can't actually turn the wheel without hitting your leg. Like, the steering wheel's too big and the back moves around a lot. And then, the long wheelbase cars were better. And then by the time you get to a 911 SC, right? So now you have Cagetronic fuel injection. So it starts and runs until the fuel distributor goes, and then you're fucked forever. But I mean, like, every time I drive an SC, I think this is a competent, mature, grown-up, serious car without a sense of humor until you lift. That kind of does everything across the board. It's just 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. It sounds 8 or 9.
Maybe if you're coming out of a Volkswagen.
What?
I don't know. Giving it all 9s across the board, I wouldn't go that far.
Really? Okay. Well, then you're speaking for the defense or whatever.
I would say the amount of feedback you get from the steering in one of those cars, especially when they're on 6-inch tires on an SC, is pretty not like boring. It's not like lacking in excitement compared to like the early cars. I think you have to get into like depending on how it's set up, a 964 or 993 before you start to lose the magic from the front end.
And that's I mean, that's kind of where I was going. Like every time I drive a 993, the guys who I know that own 993s, and we have friends in common that have 993s, oh, they won't shut the fuck up about how good they are. But then you put them in, there's one particular friend that we have who has a 993 and it's a C4S and blah, 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 and oh my God, it's this and what, this color green or blue, and they only made 7,652 million of them and blah, blah, blah. But then you put him in an Aston V Advantage and he buys it. And you put him in a 360 Spider and he buys it because he didn't realize, I'm guessing,
that you can get character.
that you can get character. Right?
Yeah.
993s are geared so stupidly long, you get first gear and then you go to jail. They are reliable, they do nothing wrong, the steering is okay. And like these are the crown jewel of the 911 world, and I would argue,
I think in stock form especially, they're kind of underwhelming. 964s are the same way.
964s are the worst of the bunch, I have to say.
In stock form. I think when they're properly set up, they can be magic. It has the full RS experience, which you can get to if you desire.
But I mean, you can modify anything to be good. You can take an AMC Pacer and make it. Okay, you could take like a Ford Okay.
Okay.
Fair. All right. I will. Objection sustained. But my point is only that these cars are at the height of the market, and 993s are a fortune.
Yeah.
And I would rather have a 996.
Dollars adjusted.
Dollars adjusted.
Yes.
I mean, let's say $12,000 for a decent 996. 20.
20 for a
20
for a
decent-
great manual rear-wheel drive one. 12 for like a Tiptronic convertible four-wheel drive one.
We are obviously not talking about Tiptronic. Nothing. Oh, are we both going to throw up here? No, but I mean, think about it this way: $20,000 for a nice 996 with the world's shittiest interior and all the other problems with 996, or $45,000 or $50,000 for a 993. I just don't see why, just because it's the last air-cooled car, but it's not that good.
I agree.
That's it?
I'll concede you that. I get much more enjoyment and entertainment out of an SC. If you said $28,000 for like a scruffy running, like good running SC versus 20 for a 996, I'd be like, that's a tougher call for me. But against like,
what about a 996 with the intermediate shaft bearing done, so you don't have to worry about the one big issue?
Well, it's okay. I bought one of those, and then it ended up needing a gearbox, which cost more than an intermediate. I have some bad luck. So yeah, I guess. But to return to the comment I made earlier about self-confidence, I think it does take a certain amount of self-confidence to buy a car that you are buying only for yourself and only for the pleasure that you get out of driving it. My personal perspective, admittedly I've owned many Porsches over the years, so I have like gotten maybe saturated, is that if you're buying a Porsche to impress other people, then you don't understand, or you're trying to impress the wrong people, or your expectations about what other people are going to think in response to that are slightly off. But I like weird shit, so like maybe that's not the place to get off for me then, and that's why like I believe in buying weird stuff where it's like I don't know, like an Alfa Romeo 164S or the Daimler 66 or an Audi 200 station wagon. Like that's, if you spend enough time doing this, then at some point you're like, okay, I'm over the sort of routine choices like Porsche 911s and E-types and Pagoda Mercedes, and then you're like, I need weirder
I love
stuff.
how in your world a Pagoda Mercedes is like a normal thing.
It's a safe bet if you want a classic.
Okay, but I mean, you do realize you live in a world where like most people have never seen a Pagoda. Like most of the people like our age, your age, have never certainly driven one, owned one.
It's okay, you shouldn't drive one.
Yeah,
they're not
pretty
good
much
to
better
drive.
to look at than they are to drive.
Not pretty much, like definitely.
Yeah, fair enough. You've had really cool cars. You've had a lot of experiences, and the part that gets me is that you're always coming back to the same place. I kind of want another 911. Like we'll be talking about going on another coastal range rally or something, and you're like, I need to find the perfect car for a rally. And I throw out some suggestions like, why don't you get a 205 GTI? Well, I did French and parts are hard to find. And why don't you get an Alpha? Well, no, the GTV6 sucked. No, hold on, that's me saying that. Your GTV6 sucked. And then you're always like, well, I'll just buy another 911. And I want to fucking throttle you because it's just such an obvious choice. And I get it, but I don't think
I could go to that event in that car because people will see me driving it. And they'll be like, that's not interesting.
Right.
I don't know.
Which
is an image-focused thing to say, actually, incidentally.
This is the hypocrisy and the sort of contradiction of what you're saying. You're saying you have to be you have to be secure enough to be the selfish asshole who's like, I'm going to buy this car specifically because I want to drive it and fuck everyone else. And then you're saying, but I don't want to be judged by these people for being selfish.
Because they're people who are like in that sort of rarefied stratum where they're like, I actually have superior taste, instead of being just another person who's like, oh, air-cooled 911s, like, woohoo. So I think it's like the audience that you're interested in making an impression on, or there's this need to stand out or do something individual, and so if you're the only person who shows up in a 2-3 Cosworth on the event, then that's noteworthy, or a Peugeot or whatever thing it is that someone shows up in, right? You're that guy. I mean, my favorite thing about being in the GTV6 was the noise, and everyone would be like, that thing sounds amazing, and it was just like charity. You drive by and it's like, a gift for you, the noise that comes out of this car. Because
flowers and hydrocarbons and noise.
I'm not getting anything out of it. No, I enjoyed driving that car, actually.
I enjoyed listening to that car. I was stuck behind you, and this was the problem with that car. We did a Coastal Range rally together, and I was letting you lead because you had a passenger, and so you did a passenger, right? Yeah, so you had a passenger, so you had the route book, and I didn't have to worry about like looking at odometer readings, and you were having the time of your life, and I was fucking miserable. Like your driving speed on a back road and my driving speed on a back road are pretty similar. That was
adjusted for the cars, if we're in the same car.
Yeah, adjusted for the cars. And in that case, I was in my E30, and it was like, wow, I'm in 5th gear going, a quarter throttle up this hill, and you're, wah, wah, and yes. You were having such a great time, and I was miserable. And then you get out of the car, and you're like sweating, and you're like, oh my God, we just totally killed that back road. And I'm like, I think we hit 0.2 G around one corner once, and that's when you got scared and backed off. But I think actually you probably did have a lot more fun in that GTV than you would have in some Porsche that would have been nonplussed at that speed, that would have never broken down. I don't think your Alpha actually broke on that trip.
No, the car was faultless. It never broke down anywhere while I owned it.
That's some bullshit. How's that happen? Hold on. That is. How do you have an Alfa Romeo for a year and have it not break?
Yeah, and I drove it from Portland to San Francisco and then 1,300 miles on the rally.
But it was so slow that we actually dynoed it because we thought it was broken.
And it wasn't. It had the right number of horsepower. Part of the problem with that car was the gearing. The early cars had very, very tall gearing, which was...
Porsche-like gearing.
No, worse. It went from 346 to 411. Like, massive, massive change. And the 411s are much, I think, better suited to being a car.
So what you're basically saying is the best Porsche 911 is a GTV6 with short gear ratios?
Nope.
Damn it.
That's not what
all right. So if we both agree that 911s are sort of lacking in something in exchange for something.
It's only if you have enough time doing it. Everyone has, I don't know, everyone has to do it. I think everyone sort of goes through a period where they're like, this is what I'm doing Porsche 911s. And then eventually, if you get enough seat time and you spend enough time in the car sphere, then you start to realize like there's a world beyond, and as good as 911s are, there's actually like a bunch of other stuff out there to explore that's much more like off the beaten track, more original, more weird, more just esoteric. And there's a place for that if that's your sort of personality type, where you want to be an individual and sort of express some originality and I don't know, offer the charity of listening to buso noises to crowds of people.
This has gone in a completely different direction because what we've arrived at is the philosophical decision that the Porsche 911 is adolescence for car collectors. Like, it's that awkward phase you have to go through in order to graduate to become a real thinking human being.
Yet, everybody wants to return to their adolescence as well, and so but all these people like have also a 911. Like I think, like these.
Sure, every collector I know has a whole bunch of amazing shit and a 911.
Yeah, if you just want to go out there and beat on something,
you drive a Volkswagen, and then you break down the side of the road for 20 years, like I have.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also like you're doing this. I don't know, this sort of experience where if you just want something to sort of abuse and you know that it's going to survive. I mean, Porsche built their reputation.
Got him again.
Porsche built their reputation like endurance racing, right? They spend 24-hour races. It doesn't matter if it's Le Mans or Daytona or whatever, and the cars are going to survive. And so there's something liberating about just going out there and caning it. And that's why, like, the idea of $1 million 911. Like, I love driving 73 RSs, but like to spend $1 million on something like that and have it be precious. I think the most enjoyment in a 911 is the fact that like, there's like 70,000 other ones. Like if something happens to it, so be it. And then you get like a kind of rough one or one that doesn't have original paint, and you just beat on it when nobody else is around, and then like you don't have to tell anybody.
Yeah, look, 70,000 of them is right. Last, whatever year was 2014, that was the 50th anniversary of 9/11. I was driving around Monterey Peninsula for Car Week, and it was almost like every car on the road. Like, I'm trying to describe this to people who don't live in California, where every car on the road is a Prius or every car on the road is a Tesla. But there were so many 911s
F-150.
F-150. Yeah, so if you're an American, it's an F-150. No, it was horrifying how many 911s there were on the road. And they wound up all just fading into the background, and anything but a 911 became special. Anything. You saw a Pinto driving down the road. Oh my God.
I haven't seen one
is
of those
that a
in
99
4
Prius? Oh my God, first gen Honda Insight. I mean, people were just like, anything to not see the 911s. And that was the ruin of 911 for me. It was the end of the appeal of an air-cooled car. When so many people have come to the conclusion that this is something I have to own, then I guess I'm a contrarian and have to go the other way. Maybe I don't want to go back to my adolescence. Maybe my adolescence sucked. Maybe I got the shit kicked out of me for being an asshole when I was a kid, which hasn't really changed.
I still want an air-cooled 911.
That's because you're an asshole. You can keep talking. We don't actually have to end the episode now.
No, I forgot what I was going to say.
Good. No, in a way that what? You can
In a way that like when they cost what they did 10 years ago. Like I paid $19,500 for my first 911, and it was like a G50 3.2 coupe, and it was a good one. And like at that price point, it makes a lot of sense. When they're $70,000, I'm like, ooh, that's like
there's a lot of other cool things you can do.
Have a lot of weird, cool stuff in exchange for that, and that's kind of the point where it's reached for me. So, resource constrained in the real world, that's not. I don't know. It's not the answer.
Resource constrained, which is Derek Tam-Scott speak for. I ain't got the money.
Exactly that.
Okay.
Can we add that as a subtitle?
I ain't got the money. Derek Tam-Scott quote. I ain't got the money. Next thing we're going to see on newscasts, being like, I woke up to get me a cold pop, and then I thought someone was barbecuing. I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fucking 9/11. I think that was what Sweet Brown said, wasn't it?
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I missed that.
Okay.